A friendly reminder that this is a truly terrifying movie with no survivors, an island with 100 feet of shame, giant kung fu, and horrific tales of blood-sucking evil spirits that will explode if you even look at them. Every scene is 100 times scarier than axe murder. Catch up with Atney's abysmal friends. The story takes place on a spooky little island, where a family whose ancestor had done so much evil in his day had let loose a river of water, which had led to a great wrath of the heavens that rained a terrible evil down on this island. The curse was so vicious that whoever was under the curse would turn into horrible blood-sucking monsters that fed on the blood of ordinary people and sometimes killed each other. The more blood they consumed, the more the genes of some of the bloodsuckers changed, and eventually they became strange and weird evil spirits with special powers, and then the unchanged bloodsuckers would become evil spirits. The big evil spirits, however, were looking up to a man named Aquan, who, despite his pussy-like appearance, was the most powerful being on this island. Not only had he lived for 2,500 years, but he also possessed unrivaled evil powers, and with just one voice, he could summon countless strange and ugly evil spirits, and with a wave of his hand, he could cut a mountain in half. Whenever he looked at anyone who was not agreeable to him, he would open his teeth and suck out the blood of the other party. At the same time, because of his existence, all visitors to this island would invariably die in mysterious ways. In order to find his missing companion, Yellowhair came to this strange island alone, but after searching for a long time, he found that this island was so beautiful, and was not at all as scary as it was rumored to be. The surrounding silence still made him very alert. After a long search, Yellowhair finally arrived at a deserted courtyard. He found a well here and pulled up the rope to get some water to quench his thirst. But when he pulled out the bucket, he saw a pair of pale white hands. Seeing this terrifying sight, Yellowhair was so scared that he rushed to a room to ask the villagers for help. Turning his head, he saw another horrifying human head, and beneath it, there was a water hose. Yellowhair examined it closely but didn't realize it was a water hose. On closer inspection, he didn't realize the man was still alive. As he was puzzled, he heard a chewing sound from the room behind him. Huang Mao was curious about who could be eating in that place, so he bravely approached the room. When he reached the door, he was horrified to find two bloodthirsty monsters gnawing on the man's dead branches.
Harry was so shocked, he ran away scared.
How could an ordinary human outrun these monsters? In just 2.5 minutes, Yellowhair was surrounded by blood-sucking ghosts. He could only hold a wooden stick and keep on fighting for his life, but at that critical moment, a sharp blade suddenly came down from the sky and severed the blood-sucking ghost's brain, and a quick man came to Yellowhair's side. He rescued him quickly with his skillful swordsmanship. That's right. The two of them then came to a forest. It was at this time that White told Yellowhair about the curse on the island. He said that because of the curse the people here had become blood-sucking ghosts. They would kill anyone without mercy. Some had even evolved into monsters. However, there was still a small group of people who didn't want to see their own kind killing each other, so they developed a drug to curb their blood-sucking urges. Y was one of them, but as soon as the words came out of his mouth, his body fell down and he was still in a state of shock and despair. As soon as the words fell out of his mouth, his body suddenly became weak and he fell to the ground immediately. Y realized that it was the blood-sucking ghost gene in his body, and if he didn't take the medicine, he would soon lose control of his body and consume Yellowhair's blood. In order not to hurt the other party, Y had no choice but to take off his hood, fish out his teeth and scare Yellowhair off. Yellowhair traveled through the forests and finally came to another village where he met many more blood-sucking ghosts just like Y. Among them, after a series of fights, only Ming and Taiju were the best, and it was from them that Yellowhair learned that a man named Akuan was the leader of the blood-sucking ghosts and evil spirits. However, no matter how strong Akuan was, he still had something he was afraid of, and that was the rumored 51 serum. The serum could not only purify Akuan's blood but also change the blood-sucking ghosts on the island into ordinary people also. Based on the investigation, they finally found out that the blood-sucking ghosts in the drainage river were not human. According to their investigation, they finally found out that there might be something they wanted in the cave where the river was drained, so they set off immediately, and after passing through the monster's encirclement, they finally arrived at their destination, but they didn't know that the real disaster had just begun. No sooner had they arrived at the entrance of the cave than they saw a group of limbs and reddish-colored ghosts approaching them at a furious pace, as if they were going to eat them all the next second. But Aiming drew his sword with a calm face and quickly rushed up to the cave. He quickly rushed up to them and stabbed them. It took just 2.5 minutes to eliminate them all. After resolving the issue ahead, they ventured further and further into the room. As a door was gradually opened, they reached the laboratory where the blood serum was kept. However, a second group of ghosts attacked them unexpectedly. So, Aiming drew his sword once more and defeated them all. But when they were about to leave with the blood serum in their possession, a long knife suddenly appeared before his eyes. He never could have imagined it was his own brother, Taiju, and even more shocking was that Taiju had already betrayed him and was secretly seeking the blood serum for Kuan. To obtain the blood serum, Taiju immediately attacked his younger brother, and no matter how much Aiming tried to persuade him, he wouldn't stop. In the end, Iron Pillar was superior. He defeated Ming and seized the blood serum they sought. Due to the accident, they couldn't find another escape. Just as they were about to move, a bloody hand crawled up the wall, with a face resembling a man who had fought for a long time. This evil spirit called the Lord had a special power. If anyone accidentally glanced at her, he would be taken back to the marriage ceremony. In this case, he immediately went up the stairs by luck or good luck for fear of making eye contact with the Lord. But unexpectedly, the accident still happened. Yellow Hair was so scared that he almost fell to the ground when he went up the stairs, and because of this, he happened to see her big eyes. He happened to see the Lord's big kaleidoscopic eyes and saw that the Lord was about to take Yellow Hair back. Aiming immediately shouted at him to run away, but Yellow Hair was already shivering under the weight of the huge object and could not move at all. Fortunately, in the nick of time, Aiming stepped forward in time and pounced Yellow Hair to the ground, and he was able to escape by luck. Finally, several people climbed up as hard as they could to reach a tunnel where, after a long period of escaping, they also found an abandoned mine cart, but the crowd had just been able to find an old mine cart, and it was not only the old mine cart but also the old one that was being used by the Lord as a means of transportation. As they attempted to flee in the mine cart, a holy cry resonated from the tunnel, and the cave began to shake frequently. Observing this, the men quickly concluded that the Lord must have caught up with them, so they pushed the mine cart with all their might. Then, just at the very last moment of the Lord's onslaught, they managed to escape from the cave and the minecart. Although their lives were spared, they decided to search for him alone, with the aim of saving the villagers. Upon arriving at the village, he discovered Taiju waiting for him. The two brothers met again like adversaries and immediately engaged in a fight. They battled from the outside to the inside of the house, and then from the inside of the house to the outside, leaving destruction wherever their swords went. However, when it came time to decide the victor, Taiju couldn't help but remember their shared past, which allowed Aiming to seize the opportunity to pierce him directly with his sword. But how could Iron Pillar, a blood-sucking ghost, be defeated so easily? He threw his weapon and seized the chance to flee. Armin, acting as if he was getting the blood serum from his brother's hand, followed the trail of blood left by the other and eventually reached a cave. Here, Armin was immediately on high alert for 12, continuing to search for his brother's traces. To his surprise, Iron Pillar was already gravely injured, aware that he couldn't overpower his brother. Realizing he couldn't win, he hid in the shadows and launched a surprise attack. He even climbed on top of him, opening his bloody mouth to bite his arteries. The pain was excruciating, and Aiming couldn't shake him off or extract a needle, so he grabbed a knife and stabbed his brother's eyes. Finally, he began swinging his fists wildly, striking his brother's body repeatedly, and even a stone pillar collapsed. It struck him. Iron Pillar. When his life was in danger, Iron Pillar confided in his brother that he intended to take the serum or seek out Koan. His goal was to make Aiming stronger and more ruthless, capable of defeating Koan. Upon discovering the truth, Aiming was overwhelmed with grief but resolved to wield the long knife and end his adversary's life, honoring his brother's efforts. Aiming returned with a bright expression, only to encounter Yellow Hair, who held the blood and green that Iron Pillar had concealed. Aiming realized this was all part of his brother's plan. Just as he was about to take the blood and green home, Akuan appeared, admitting he knew Iron Pillar's actions were wrong and didn't wish to expose them. So, he was unwilling to disclose the truth. Rather, he simply desired to observe them as they destroyed one another. Upon hearing this, Ming was filled with rage. The disparity in their power was as vast as the sky is to the earth, and he stood no chance against them. Moreover, Gon had dispatched his legion of malevolent spirits, prepared to eliminate anyone who defied the state's command. How can we possibly confront such a monumental crisis with this enormous disparity in strength?